Infected thinking refers to a pattern of thought that undermines an individual's potential by distorting their perception of reality, creating limitations where none truly exist, and fostering negativity that erodes confidence and motivation. It is not simply a fleeting moment of doubt or uncertainty. Rather, it is a deeply ingrained habit of viewing situations, oneself, and the world through a lens that magnifies fear, inadequacy, and hopelessness while obscuring possibility, opportunity, and growth. This type of thinking is insidious, often creeping into the mind unnoticed, gradually becoming the default perspective over time. Infected thinking thrives on unchecked assumptions, reinforcing itself through repetitive internal dialogue that seems convincing but is often untrue or exaggerated. This pattern often begins subtly, perhaps as a result of external influences such as criticism from others, societal pressures, or the expectations imposed by culture or upbringing. Words spoken in anger, moments of rejection, or experiences of failure can plant the seeds of infected thinking, embedding doubts and fears into the subconscious. Over time, these doubts transform into beliefs that dictate behavior and shape decision-making, making it difficult to differentiate between what is genuinely true and what is merely a product of this distorted mental framework. A person caught in the grip of infected thinking might view their capabilities as permanently limited, attribute external challenges to personal inadequacies, or assume the worst about others and their intentions. One of the most damaging aspects of infected thinking is its ability to create self-fulfilling prophecies. When individuals believe they are incapable, undeserving, or destined to fail, they often unconsciously make choices or take actions that lead to outcomes reinforcing these beliefs. For example, someone who believes they lack the skills for success might avoid taking risks or seizing opportunities, which in turn prevents them from developing those very skills. This cycle perpetuates the infection, making it feel increasingly inescapable. The mind begins to filter information, seeking evidence to confirm these negative beliefs while dismissing or undervaluing contrary evidence that might challenge them. Infected thinking is further reinforced by the human tendency to ruminate on negative experiences or failures. While reflecting on the past can be a valuable tool for growth, infected thinking turns this reflection into a form of mental self-sabotage, replaying painful moments or imagined scenarios of future failure until they become all-consuming. This prevents the individual from fully engaging with the present, locking them into a mental space where the past defines their future and the present feels devoid of agency or hope. Another troubling feature of infected thinking is how it affects relationships and interactions with others. It can create a defensive or pessimistic outlook, leading people to misinterpret others' intentions or withdraw from meaningful connections out of fear of judgment, rejection, or disappointment. This isolation further feeds the negative cycle, as the absence of positive reinforcement and supportive relationships deepens the sense of inadequacy and alienation. The environment plays a significant role in cultivating or combating infected thinking. Exposure to negative influences, whether in the form of toxic relationships, critical voices, or an environment that prioritizes competition over collaboration, can exacerbate these thought patterns. On the other hand, environments that encourage growth, celebrate effort, and provide validation can act as a counterbalance, offering moments of clarity and opportunities to reframe distorted thoughts. However, even in the most supportive surroundings, the internal battle with infected thinking must be actively addressed to truly break free from its grasp. Infected thinking ultimately reduces the ability to see oneself and the world clearly. It erodes confidence, stifles creativity, and narrows the scope of what feels achievable, yet its power lies largely in its subtlety as it disguises itself as logical reasoning or self-protection. This makes it all the more critical to bring awareness to these patterns, to examine them honestly, and to begin the work of replacing them with healthier, more constructive ways of thinking. The causes of infected thinking are deeply rooted in the interplay between personal experiences, external influences, and internalized beliefs that shape how individuals perceive themselves and their world. These causes often originate in the formative years of life, when the mind is most impressionable and susceptible to the influence of others. Criticism from authority figures, such as parents, teachers, or caregivers, can plant seeds of self-doubt, leading individuals to internalize these judgments as truths about their abilities or worth. When a child hears repeated negative remarks or is constantly compared to others, they may begin to form the belief that they are inherently flawed, inadequate, or incapable, which can set the stage for infected thinking to take root and grow. Another significant source of infected thinking lies in past failures or setbacks, especially when they are not processed in a healthy and constructive way. Failure is a natural part of growth and learning, but when it is accompanied by harsh self-criticism, public embarrassment, or a lack of support, it can leave lasting scars on an individual's psyche. Over time, these unresolved feelings of failure can crystallize into a fear of trying new things or taking risks, as the mind begins to associate effort with the pain of falling short. This fear often becomes a self-imposed barrier, limiting opportunities for growth and reinforcing the belief that failure defines one's capability. Social environments also play a pivotal role in fostering infected thinking. Negative peer influences, bullying, and exclusion can lead individuals to question their value and place in the world. In workplaces, competitive and cutthroat cultures can erode confidence, as individuals may feel they are constantly being judged or measured against unrealistic. Similarly, the rise of social media has intensified this dynamic, creating a digital arena where comparisons to others are inevitable and often skewed by carefully curated images of success, beauty, and happiness. This constant exposure to idealized portrayals can lead to feelings of inadequacy as individuals compare their authentic lives, complete with struggles and often unattainable standards they see online. Trauma is another powerful contributor to infected thinking. Experiences such as abuse, neglect, or significant loss can leave emotional wounds that distort how individuals perceive themselves and the world. Trauma often triggers feelings of guilt, shame, or fear, which can manifest as deeply ingrained thought patterns that prioritize self-preservation over exploration or growth. These patterns might lead someone to expect rejection or betrayal in relationships, or to believe that they are undeserving of happiness or success, reinforcing the cycle of infected thinking over time. Cultural and societal norms further compound this issue by setting expectations that are often rigid or unrealistic. Societies that emphasize perfectionism, material success, or specific standards of beauty create pressure that can be overwhelming, especially for those who feel they fall short of these ideals. These cultural messages, repeated through media, advertising, and social conditioning, can create an internalized narrative that equates self-worth with external achievements or appearances, leaving little room for self-acceptance or individuality. A lack of emotional resilience or coping skills can also contribute to infected thinking. When individuals are not taught how to manage stress, process emotions, or navigate challenges constructively, they may resort to unproductive thought patterns as a way of coping. These patterns might include catastrophizing, blaming themselves for circumstances beyond their control, or engaging in all or nothing thinking that leaves little room for nuance or perspective. Without the tools to reframe these thoughts, they often become entrenched, shaping how individuals approach future challenges and interactions. The people individuals surround themselves with can either exacerbate or alleviate infected thinking. Toxic relationships marked by manipulation, criticism, or negativity can reinforce limiting beliefs, making it difficult to break free from the cycle. Even well-meaning loved ones may unintentionally contribute by projecting their own fears, doubts, or insecurities onto others. Conversely, supportive and encouraging relationships can provide a counterbalance, but if the infected thinking has already taken root, it may overshadow these positive influences, causing individuals to dismiss or distrust the encouragement they receive. Ultimately, the causes of infected thinking are as varied as the individuals who experience them, with each person's mental patterns shaped by a unique combination of factors that interact over time. Self-awareness and diagnosis are essential steps in identifying and addressing infected thinking because they allow individuals to recognize the negative patterns that influence their thoughts, behaviors, and decisions. The process begins with a willingness to pause and examine the inner dialogue that often operates automatically, shaping perceptions and reactions without conscious consideration. Many people go through life on autopilot, unaware of the pervasive influence of their thoughts on their emotions and actions. Developing self-awareness requires breaking this cycle by observing the mind with curiosity and without judgment, acknowledging the thoughts that arise and how they impact one's outlook on life. This process often starts with identifying triggers, the external or internal events that set off a cascade of negative thinking. Triggers can take many forms, such as stressful situations, specific people, or even memories of past experiences. Recognizing these triggers is crucial because it enables individuals to see the patterns that emerge in response. For all of our processes, for example, a person might notice that they become excessively self-critical after receiving feedback at work, interpreting constructive comments as evidence of failure rather than opportunities for growth. By becoming aware of these recurring patterns, they can begin to question the validity of their assumptions and explore alternative perspectives. Another key aspect of diagnosis is examining the beliefs that underpin infected thinking. These beliefs are often deeply rooted and may have been formed during childhood or as a result of significant life events. They can include statements like, "I'm not good enough," "I'll never succeed," or "people will always let me down." These core beliefs often operate beneath the surface, shaping behavior and outlook without individuals realizing their influence. Bringing these beliefs into the light of conscious awareness requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about oneself and the narratives that have been internalized over time. A powerful tool in this process is journaling, which allows individuals to articulate their thoughts and feelings in a structured way. Writing down recurring thoughts can help uncover patterns and reveal the underlying beliefs driving them. For instance, someone might write about a difficult interaction with a colleague and realize that their frustration stems not from the colleague's behavior, but from their own fear of inadequacy. This realization can open the door to deeper exploration and a shift in perspective as the individual begins to see how their internal narrative influences their external reality. Self-awareness also involves paying attention to the language used in internal dialogue. The words people use to describe themselves and their experiences often reflect the state of their thinking. Negative or absolute terms like always, never, or impossible can signal the presence of infected thinking as they leave little room for nuance or possibility. By consciously replacing these words with more balanced and constructive alternatives, individuals can begin to reframe their thoughts and create space for growth and change. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation, can further enhance self-awareness by cultivating a greater sense of presence and detachment from thoughts. These practices encourage individuals to observe their thoughts without becoming entangled in them, allowing them to see the patterns of infected thinking more clearly. Over time, mindfulness can help individuals develop the ability to respond to situations with intention, rather than reacting automatically based on ingrained thought patterns. Seeking feedback from trusted friends, family members, or mentors can also play a valuable role in the diagnostic process. Others often have insights into behaviors or attitudes that may be difficult to see from within, offering a different perspective on how infected thinking manifests. However, it is important to approach this feedback with an open mind and a willingness to consider new perspectives, even when they challenge existing beliefs. The process of diagnosis is not a one-time event, but an ongoing journey of self-discovery and growth. As individuals become more attuned to their thoughts and beliefs, they gain the ability to recognize infected thinking more quickly and intervene before it takes hold. This increased self-awareness not only helps in identifying negative patterns, but also empowers individuals to replace them with healthier, more constructive ways of thinking that support their goals and well-being. Challenging and replacing negative thoughts is a critical step in overcoming infected thinking, as it involves actively engaging with the internal dialogue that shapes perceptions and behaviors. Negative thoughts often operate on autopilot, presenting themselves as facts rather than interpretations or assumptions, which makes them difficult to recognize and question. The first step in this process is becoming aware of these thoughts as they arise, noticing their presence without immediately accepting them as truth. This requires mindfulness and deliberate attention to the moments when negativity surfaces, such as during stressful situations, after making a mistake, or when facing uncertainty about the future. Once these thoughts are identified, the next step is to challenge their validity by examining the evidence that supports or contradicts them. Negative thoughts often stem from cognitive distortions, which are irrational patterns of thinking that exaggerate problems, minimize strengths, or focus solely on the worst-case scenario. For example, someone might think, "I always mess things up." After making a single mistake, even if there is plenty of evidence to the contrary. Challenging this thought involves asking questions like, "Is this really true?" or "What evidence do I have that supports this belief?" and "What evidence contradicts it?" By scrutinizing these thoughts with a critical eye, individuals can begin to see them for what they are, unhelpful interpretations rather than objective realities. It is also helpful to reframe negative thoughts by considering alternative perspectives. For instance, instead of thinking, "I failed at this task, so I'm not good enough," one might reframe the thought to say, "I struggled with this task, but it's an opportunity to learn and improve." This shift in perspective emphasizes growth and possibility rather than focusing solely on shortcomings. Reframing does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. Rather, it involves adopting a balanced view that acknowledges both difficulties and opportunities for growth. Another effective technique for replacing negative thoughts is using affirmations or positive self-talk. Affirmations are statements that counteract negative beliefs and reinforce constructive thinking patterns. For example, someone who frequently thinks, "I can't handle this," might replace that thought with, "I have faced challenges before, and I am capable of finding solutions." Repeating these affirmations regularly can help create new neural pathways in the brain, gradually replacing old unhelpful patterns with healthier ones. The key is to ensure that these affirmations feel authentic and grounded in reality, as overly idealistic or unrealistic statements may be difficult to believe and therefore less effective. Engaging in problem solving can also be a practical way to replace negative thoughts with constructive action. When faced with a challenging situation, instead of focusing on the thought, "This is impossible," individuals can shift their attention to brainstorming potential solutions or seeking support from others. Taking proactive steps to address a problem not only helps to counter feelings of helplessness, but also reinforces the belief that challenges can be overcome with effort and creativity. Another important aspect of replacing negative thoughts is cultivating a mindset of self-compassion. Negative thoughts often arise from harsh self-criticism or unrealistic expectations, which can create a cycle of guilt and inadequacy. Practicing self-compassion involves treating oneself with the same kindness and understanding that one would offer to a friend in a similar situation. Instead of thinking, I'm a failure for making this mistake, self-compassion might lead to the thought, it's okay to make mistakes. They're a natural part of learning and growing. This approach not only helps to counteract negative thoughts, but also fosters resilience and emotional well-being. Surrounding oneself with positive influences, such as supportive friends, mentors, or inspiring content, can also aid in replacing negative thoughts. These external sources of encouragement can serve as reminders of one's strengths and capabilities, helping to reinforce a more constructive internal dialogue. Over time, the combination of self-awareness, critical examination of thoughts, and intentional efforts to reframe and replace negativity creates a powerful foundation for building a healthier and more empowering mindset that supports personal growth and fulfillment. Positive influences and gratitude play a transformative role in counteracting infected thinking by shifting focus away from negativity and fostering a mindset rooted in appreciation and constructive energy. Surrounding oneself with positive influences involves being intentional about the environment and relationships that shape daily experiences. These influences can come in many forms, including uplifting friends, mentors, inspiring literature, or engaging in communities that encourage growth and well-being. Positive relationships are particularly impactful as they provide emotional support, validation, and encouragement, serving as a buffer against negativity and self-doubt. Being in the presence of individuals who model resilience, optimism, and kindness creates an atmosphere where healthier thought patterns can flourish. The energy of positivity is contagious, and spending time with those who embody it can inspire similar attitudes in oneself. Conversations with supportive individuals can offer new perspectives, constructive feedback, and reminders of one's strengths and potential. For instance, a friend who celebrates accomplishments, no matter how small, can reinforce the habit of acknowledging progress instead of dwelling on perceived failures. Maybe, on the other hand, limiting time spent with toxic or overly critical people is equally important, as their negativity can amplify self-doubt and perpetuate unhelpful thought patterns. This doesn't necessarily mean cutting ties entirely, but rather setting boundaries that prioritize mental and emotional well-being. Positive influences are not limited to people. The media and content consumed daily can also shape thought patterns significantly. Books, podcasts, or films that convey inspiring stories of resilience and triumph can serve as powerful reminders of the human capacity for growth and overcoming challenges. Engaging with such material fosters a mindset that values possibilities and solutions rather than fixating on problems. Similarly, participating in activities that align with personal values or passions, such as volunteering, creative pursuits, or fitness, helps to cultivate a sense of purpose and fulfillment, creating a ripple effect that reinforces positivity in other areas of life. Gratitude amplifies the impact of positive influences by redirecting attention toward what is already good and meaningful in life. It is a deliberate practice of recognizing and appreciating the blessings, opportunities, and relationships that contribute to one's commitment to growth is a fundamental aspect of overcoming infected thinking, as it requires a sustained and intentional effort to prioritize progress, learning, and self-improvement over stagnation and fear. This commitment begins with a mindset shift, embracing the idea that personal development is a lifelong journey rather than a destination to be reached. Growth is not about achieving perfection or eliminating all challenges. Rather, it is about continuously striving to become a better version of oneself, even in the face of setbacks and uncertainties. This perspective fosters resilience, as it encourages individuals to view challenges as opportunities to learn and evolve, rather than as insurmountable obstacles or evidence of failure. Cultivating a commitment to growth often involves setting clear and meaningful goals that align with one's values and aspirations. These goals serve as a roadmap, providing direction and motivation for the journey ahead. However, it is important to approach goal setting with flexibility and a willingness to adapt, as the path to growth is rarely linear. End quote. Unexpected detours and challenges are inevitable, but they do not signify failure. Instead, they are opportunities to reassess priorities, refine strategies, and develop new skills. Viewing these moments as integral parts of the growth process helps to maintain momentum and prevent feelings of discouragement. An essential component of growth is the ability to reflect on past experiences, both positive and negative, with honesty and self-compassion. Reflection allows individuals to gain insight into their patterns of thought and behavior, identifying areas for improvement and celebrating progress made along the way. It is through this process of introspection that one begins to understand the root causes of infected thinking and develop strategies to address them effectively. For example, reflecting on a situation where self-doubt held them back might reveal underlying beliefs about their capabilities, prompting them to challenge and reframe these thoughts in future scenarios. Growth also requires a willingness to step outside of one's comfort zone, as true development often occurs in the face of uncertainty or discomfort. This might mean taking on new challenges, learning unfamiliar skills, or confronting fears that have held them back. While these experiences can be intimidating, they are also incredibly rewarding, as each small victory reinforces the belief that growth is possible, building confidence and a sense of empowerment that carries over into other areas of life. Another important aspect of commitment to growth is the ability to embrace feedback, both from oneself and from others. Constructive feedback offers valuable insights into areas for improvement and provides opportunities to refine skills and approaches. However, it can also be challenging to receive, especially when it touches on sensitive or deeply ingrained beliefs. Developing the ability to view feedback as a tool for growth rather than as a critique of one's worth is a key skill that supports personal and professional development. It requires humility and a willingness to learn, as well as the discernment to differentiate between feedback that is constructive and that which is not. Surrounding oneself with supportive and growth-oriented influences further reinforces a commitment to progress. This might include mentors who provide guidance and inspiration, peers who share similar goals and aspirations, or communities that encourage exploration and learning. The encouragement and accountability provided by these relationships can help to sustain motivation and provide valuable perspectives on the growth process. Additionally, engaging in continuous learning through reading, attending workshops, or seeking new experiences broadens horizons and fosters a sense of curiosity and adaptability. The journey of growth is not without its challenges, as it often requires individuals to confront deeply ingrained habits, beliefs, and fears. There will be moments of doubt, frustration, and even setbacks, but these are not indicators of failure. They are natural parts of the process. Maintaining a commitment to growth means persevering through these moments, recognizing that progress is often incremental, and that every small step forward contributes to long-term transformation. This mindset encourages patience and self-compassion, allowing individuals to celebrate their progress without becoming overly fixated on their shortcomings. Ultimately, a commitment to growth is a declaration of belief in one's potential and a willingness to invest in that potential through continuous effort and self-discovery. It is a recognition that the path to overcoming infected thinking and achieving personal fulfillment lies not in avoiding challenges, but in embracing them as opportunities to learn, evolve, and thrive.